Hi everyone. Good evening, everyone. My name is Akash Sharma, and I am from Project Maverick, Law Seeku, and I welcome you all heartily on this new session on how to ace CLAT 2022 and tips and tricks for the last stage of preparation. And today, joining us is Miss Khyati Ahuja, who is from RG Annual Patiala, batch of 2026, and she is one of the top ranks of CLAT 2021. Before I introduce Ms. Khyati Ahuja, I would like to introduce a bit about Project Maverick, that is an initiative by Law Seeku and IP Leaders blog, which is one of the biggest blogs in the world. Project Maverick is an pro bono initiative by Law Seeku, which aims to provide legal education to all the deprived sections of the society and wants that legal education and money should not be a bar to getting admission into the top law colleges of the country. And it aims that every student in India who aspires to become a lawyer should have the necessary education. So in order to give coaching to everyone, we are here with a set of new guidelines and new videos which help the students. So before I introduce Ms. Khyati Ahuja myself, I would like to call upon stage Ms. Khyati Ahuja to tell about herself and introduce herself, her rank, and all about what she wants to speak. Over to you, Khyati.
Thank you so much, Akash. Am I audible?
Yes, you are.
All right. Good evening, everyone. As you all know my name already, I'm Khyati Ahuja. I am from Faridabad, Haryana, and right now I'm at my campus in RGNL Patiala. I am a rank holder of 1003 in CLAT 2021, and currently I'm studying at NLU Patiala. I'm also a CLAT dropper. I gave CLAT in year 2020 and again in 2021. Due to some circumstances, I could not clear my 2020 CLAT, so I took a drop and I started preparing again. And this time, by God's grace, I got rank of 1003 and finally reached the dream college of NLU. Congratulate Law Seeku for such an amazing pro bono initiative taken by them, and I'm honored to be here. Thank you.
Thanks a lot for your introduction, Khyati. And I'm really thankful for you to come here and join us today on this evening. And as you told about your journey for cracking CLAT in 2021 and 2022, 2020 and 2021, I would like to know what was your strategy and what were your plans, subject-wise, topic-wise, and time-wise? How did you manage your time and how did you go about the subjects of CLAT?
All right. So my preparation was mainly based on how I took upon the mocks of CLAT. And the most important thing for each and every CLAT aspirant is to identify the weak subjects and their strong subjects. So for example, my weak subjects were maths and logical reasoning. So I had to give them additional time as regarding or as against my strong subjects. That was something I did regularly on regular basis. And these weak subjects and strong subjects were, were very difficult to identify because each and every mock's difficulty level was different. But as and when you give the mocks on daily basis, you'll realize that somewhere or the other you're lacking in a subject, and that is what helps you to streamline your preparation when it comes to subject-wise preparation. Coming to topic-wise preparation, again, each and every strong subject or weak subject could have a certain topic which would be easy for you or difficult for you, respectively. For example, for me, quantitative techniques, the section of in CLAT examination was a bit difficult because I am not a very bright student in maths, but I, continuously practiced, and that is how I excelled in CLAT 2021. The key to any entrance exam is that you should know about your own weaknesses and your strengths. So as it is said that you need to work on your weaknesses and strengthen your strengths. So that is exactly how you should do it. When it comes to time-wise preparation, so my advice would be to time yourself on each and every mock you give, each and every mock for 2 hours. So give a strategy, like for example, how I did. I depending on the number of questions and the overview of the question paper in the beginning, like I used to give 1 minute to see how the difficulty level of each section in a paper. And then I used to mentally tell myself that okay, I'll be giving 10 to 15 minutes to this subject of this mock, and likewise I should do that. For example, I gave 25 minutes to my English section, 8 to 10 minutes to my current affairs, including general knowledge section, 30 to 32 minutes to legal reasoning, 30 to 2 minutes to logical reasoning again. And any subject, then I have to compensate it, for the other subject. So it is a very streamlined process, and I had to give myself like 5 minutes extra for revision purposes. And since it is an offline entrance exam, then you'll have to mark your answers, simultaneously on the OMR sheet. So you need some seconds for that also. So that also changes the dynamics of time management in your exam. So this is how I did it. My timing of each and every subject was again helped by giving mocks daily, on a regular basis, like twice in a day or thrice in a day when the CLAT was appearing. So that is how I did it. For example, I'm lacking in a particular subject of CLAT, and I used to have like those sectional tests and topic tests that I used to give online. They're available online. Practice those part of questions, and then you can get a practice, and then you can streamline your time also, because as in when you practice, the time reduces. The time of solving the question reduces. That is how I did it. So yeah, that is the overall.
That's a wonderful piece of advice that you gave, Kathy, to all the budding lawyers out there. So I just have a couple of follow-up questions. First of all, the brilliant piece of advice that even I could relate to during my time when I gave the law entrances. The thing is that we have to identify our strong sections and then work on our weak sections, as you told. So, do you have a piece of advice that how can a budding lawyer who is about to give his law entrances identify these sections?
Right. So it's like, for example, you're giving a mock and then you analyze it. So very important piece of advice again is that there's the mock of 2 hours. Okay, you are attempting a mock of 2 hours, and what is important is after you give the mock of 2 hours, sit, take a half an hour break or 15 minutes break, and then sit again for another 2 hours to analyze what you did. That is equally important as giving a mock. That is very important. And when you analyze, you'll get to know that okay, from consistently, like from last 2 3 mocks, I'm recognizing that these are my weak sections. I'm not able to score well. I'm taking more time in these subjects. So that will become like, for example, you're not having a proficiency in those subjects. For example, for maths, for me, I used to leave those questions because it appeared to me as difficult. So I used to leave that questions and concentrate on the rest of them. But that is not how it works. Then the mock scores, drop down. So that is how I identified that maths was my weak subject. I was not able to give it the time it deserved in a paper, and like maths is a very scoring subject part of CLAT paper. If you get good marks in maths, then you are a very highlighted part of your mock score. That is very highlighted part of your mock score. So that is how I did it to identify my weak subjects and strong subjects. Like you will score well, good in English, for example, and you'll score good in English, like thoroughly, continuously in mocks. But then also it depends on the difficulty level of the mock. So the main point is not to get disappointed. You learn a lot after giving each and every mock about yourself, about your own preparation, about your own weaknesses. And I guess that is how you should do it.
Right. So that pretty much sums it up, Kathy. That about the mocks and all. So I would just like to know that since you are a dropper, right, you gave a whole year to CLAT, a whole 365 days, 12 months to your law entrance. So could you please tell me that since when did you start giving the mocks, or getting behind the keyboard and giving that real examination feel, so that you could learn from the mocks and be in a real stimulated environment of CLAT?
Right. So everybody knows how COVID was there in these 2 years. So the physical transactions, the physical mock giving was very difficult. You had to give it from your own home. And the most important thing is discipline. You need to sit for those 2 hours with the clock, with proper pen, pencil, and a water bottle with a stopwatch. And you know that simulating that environment was quite difficult, but it is all about discipline. I guess if you really want to crack LAT, then you have to sit properly for 2 hours and then again for 2 hours for analyzing the mock. So I guess as for when I used to give mocks and like in CLAT 2020, still a part of my preparation was offline. But when the corona came and the paper was the CLAT exam of 2020 was also online, so we started giving it on our laptops and stuff. So it was new for us as well. So for my journey for 2020, mocks was something I used to give because the more mocks you give, the more less your fear will become while giving your real exam. You won't feel that you're giving an exam, you'll feel like just giving a mock like on a daily basis. That's how easy it will become if you give the mocks regularly. So that is what I did. In 2021, my I used to give at the very beginning stages when I was revising all my syllabus. I used to give mocks like twice twice thrice in a week. That is how I did it. So I gave myself time to analyze my mistakes and work on that. So, and when the cat was approaching, like the last 2 3 months, I used to give it like every day, one mock each day, or like every alternative day, whatever suits you best. So I used to give myself time like 2 3 hours to analyze and then get back to another mock. That is how I did it. And like the last 2 weeks of my CLAT preparation, I used to give two mocks daily. That's how frequently I used to give mocks, because there's nothing better technique than mocks to really realize your potential or your you know how good you are in a subject or how bad you are in a subject. That is how you actually work on mocks.
Right. So, to all the budding lawyers and law students out there, Ms. Kathy Ahuja, who has given two CLAT exams and also secured a seat in one of the top law schools of the country, she's sharing this tip that giving mocks is one of the most pivotal steps in this journey. So, to all the Project Maverick students, I would urge to keep giving as many mocks as possible. And all the other viewers, I would like to suggest that in case you want mocks, you can join Project Maverick. So coming back to my question, Kathy, could you please share like what were your subject-related strategies? Like how did you approach a mock once the mock opens in front of you? Which section first would you suggest our viewers to go with, or which were your favorites, and what was your strategy, and how much time did you allocate to each and every section? Like you told that maths was not one of your fortes, something which I can also relate to. So I used to keep it at the end. So what was your strategy? How did you go through the section-wise paper?
All right, so the when you give a mock, okay, so the final strategy on the day of the exam is quite different and should be different for when you give your first mock, for example. So mock is like what a practice. Okay, practice you give to yourself. So each and every mock, I used to do it in a different way. I used to start with a different subject to test out what suits me the best. So there are many strategies I tried. For example, I tried doing the weak subjects first and then coming to my strong subjects, or maybe doing the reasoning section first, then coming to English, and then to maths and GK at last. So you need to give mocks, give tests regularly to understand what suits you best, because your time, any entrance is very time sensitive. So you cannot waste even a single second in an entrance exam. It's like very important. So you need to streamline your order of subjects you'll take up in your final test by giving mocks daily. So for example, I did it. uh, my final strategy on that day was I attempted logical reasoning first, then the legal reasoning, then I came to English, then quantitative techniques, and then GK. Okay, and this was not something that I had practiced yesterday. This came impromptu because of the paper. When I saw the paper first, in the entire strategy I had, before giving the mock changed, like everything, because once you have the paper in front of you, you change. You know, the strategy changes, everything changes. So the most important thing is to remain calm at that point. You need to practice yourself, give practice to yourself enough times so that you don't falter or you don't lose your cool while attempting the main exam. So, like previous on a yes, like one day before when I gave the mock, I had a completely different strategy. Like I started with my strong subject, which is legal reasoning. I started with legal reasoning, then I came to logical reasoning. But once I like saw the paper and I saw that wow, the logical reasoning part is like easy as to what I practiced in mocks. So I started to let's start the logic like scoring subject you have on the exam day itself, the paper that offers. You should start with that, and then gradually you need to assess what each subject would take, how much time will it take, depending on the difficulty level, and that's how you make the order, the subject order you need to practice and attempt the paper in.
Right, I got it. Like what was actually planned uh, turned out to be something completely else or completely different.
Exactly. Yes.
Right, but still, like the time part would, I guess, remain constant. That how much time did you allot to each and every section? So I would request you to put a bit light on that also.
Yes. So the time also like varies, not entirely, but in the exam. So some like for example, GK was a bit tricky in 2021 exam. If you guys have seen the paper, so the 2021 exam had completely static GK based on current affairs. That is not what we were prepared for because CLAT 2020 was entirely different. So we prepared for a static GK in 2020, and we got the surprise that it was entirely current, questions from anywhere and everywhere. But when we that accordingly we prepared, and when we gave the class 2021, we saw that the entire GK structure was like upside down. Everything was static based on current affairs, and we were like lost. That is something I did at the last second because it was a bouncer in CLAT 2021. So again, time also varies, but the main like the main structure of the time is all almost remains the same. Again, time also varies, but the main structure of the time is almost remains the same. Again, I'll repeat. Like for example, this is what I did. You need to keep time on clock like continuously. So English I gave 25 minutes, current affairs 8 to 10 minutes, like at the last. Legal reasoning I gave 30 minutes to 32 minutes. Logical reasoning was quite easy, so I was able to complete it in 25 minutes max. Usually I gave 30 minutes in mocks, and QT was a bit tricky. Some of the questions were wrong also. So that took me around 15 minutes to sort it out. That was the main crux of how I gave my CLAT 2021.
Okay, so that pretty much sums it up. That how did you approach the paper? And I'm sure that this will help the viewers a lot in knowing that how to go about the paper. That is one of the biggest thing. Initially, even I recall when the mock was open in front of me, I used to wonder that there are a lot of these sections. From where should I start? But then again, I would like to know from you that seeing all these sections and approaching them requires a lot of prior knowledge. And given 1 year, I'm sure that you must have devoted 100% of your effort and time in each and every section. So, could you share your subject wise strategy? Like, how did you go about each and every section? For example, the current affairs part you mentioned, it came as a whole bouncer, a whole shocker to everyone. So, could you suggest something to our budding future lawyers that how they can prepare for current affairs along with other subjects?
Right. So current affairs is a very tricky part. You cannot predict anything what is gonna come, and 2020 21 papers are like evident in front of our faces. Like nothing is set in CLAT syllabus. So my suggestion would be to do the both static as well as current because you never know what will come. So what I did was newspaper is something which is very time taking. So I used to not read the entire newspaper as suggested by many. When I was in class 11th, I use a little different approach. I only read the very important legal news or the campuses, and my go-to GK was Drishti IAS. That works. That is enough for GK, I guess. If you're an avid newspaper reader, that is like a big thumbs up to you guys, because since I read newspaper for a long period of time, but I did not find it helpful because there's a lot of extra knowledge which is not useful for a law entrance exam giver. So I thought that maybe let's streamline the process. Let's take out only the headlines and the news which I thought were important, like in world news. So I felt that all of it in a concise manner was provided by platforms like this TIS. That was my go-to place for general knowledge, and it helped me a lot. That is my advice. But it also varies for like I've heard from many people that that is something very Drishti IS is for IS people and UPSC entrance exams and judiciary exams. But I felt like it is very helpful even for like entrances like that.
Exactly, because GK is GK. Like the facts won't change from exam to exam, but then newspaper still remains one of the forefronts which will provide you a lot of knowledge. So its importance cannot be undermined. So thanks a lot for sharing your GK strategy, Kathy. So coming back to other sections like mathematics, English, and all of that, like especially in the critical reasoning part or in the English part, where these days you have a big passages or the big length of words that we have to go through and skim and scan. So what was your strategy regarding all of that?
So my strategy would always be like giving myself max 2 minutes to go through the passage like quickly. Then come to questions. Read the questions once. If you know the answer, well and good. But for example, some inference-based question that becomes a little difficult. Conclusion-based question or weakness, strengthen the question. All like logical corollary. All these questions were a bit time taking. You need to give a minute of thought to those questions because they cannot be provided to you in the passage. So that is something you need to go back to the passage to refer to that. So that is something I did. I used to give like a quick read, like max 1.5 minute, then came to question, read the questions once. For all the questions I knew the answer, I used to fatafat say mark the OMR and then go back to the passage to find the inference base. So roughly a 450 words passage, as the CLAT is going to give you, would took like max 5 to 8 minutes to complete, depending on the questions and the length of the passage. That is how I did my English and logical reasoning. Legal reasoning is a bit different when it comes to CLAT, because legal reasoning is you'll be given some information on a topic and then you will be asked situation based questions. You won't be given direct questions. You need to apply the legal reasoning you've read in the passage to the questions. So it may take a little more time cracking as compared to English and because you may need some kind of prior knowledge also legal reasoning exam, but basics of law, for example contracts law, the basics very torts law, criminal law, just the basics. You will find it anywhere on net. Just type and you will find it. It's not a big deal. Just know your law before sitting in the exam, because only relying upon the passage would not do. So that is my piece of advice for the rest of the subjects. Coming to QT, quantitative techniques, it can also like differ from person to person. For me, it was a bit difficult, as I already mentioned. So my strategy was to, give a read first, the question, what kind of question it is. I used to practice all kinds of QT questions beforehand. I had practiced it. So the main problem was to increase my calculation speed, because you don't have time to sit and do big calculations. You need to learn shortcuts. That is very important. That is very helpful. And that comes with practice. That is something that helped me in preparing for the QT section. So that is my take in the exam.
Right. So just to add to your law section's advice, I would like to uh, take this opportunity to tell our viewers that iPleader's blog is one of the biggest legal blogs managed by Law Seco itself, and it is providing all the information on all the basics of law, and all the young students and readers can definitely go ahead and refer to the blog. I remember in our last webinar, Ms. Roshni Rajani told us about the importance of how she used to refer to iPleader's blog and learn law from there. So now coming back to your valuable piece of advice that you give, those who are appearing in CLAT 2022. So what would be your advice that, given in mind that they just have a couple of minutes in hand right now, how should they approach these sections and how should they move forward with their preparation?
Okay, so the important piece of advice would be just stay chill while giving the exam. Do not take the burden because burden destroys everything. The pressure destroys everything. That is something I experienced in my CAT 2020. I was so burdened with, you know, the possibility of the exam going wrong. It actually went wrong. So just give yourself time to breathe. And as for the preparation, I guess you would have done enough. There's nothing else because you've done the syllabus. You should not do anything new, I would suggest, because that will divert your mind from the actual preparation you were doing for so long. And if you're serious enough, you would have done your, entire syllabus like twice, thrice till now, and practice a lot by giving mocks and daily tests. That is exactly what I would suggest for last 2 months. Just stay chill, just stay calm, and give mocks daily or every second day, whatever suits you the best. Practice on your weaknesses, work on your weaknesses, strengthen your strengths, and analyze each and every test, each and every mock that you give. That is extremely important. So I guess that would be it.
Okay, so that's a very valuable piece of advice that every law aspirant should keep in mind. So coming back to a very crucial point that you pointed out, Kathy, which was analysis of mocks. Could you share your insight or your perspective upon how did you analyze your mocks, given in mind that you gave a number of mocks that's really commendable?
Right. So my strategy for analyzing the mocks was I used to sit with a question paper with my OMR sheet with the answer sheet, like the correct options. And then I used to check. Once I have the score, I used to divide it in section wise score. Like English, I this many. I got this much right. I got marks. And guesswork, you lose marks. Not only lose marks, you get negative marks. My apologies. I did
No
not.
issues. You're perfectly audible and visible.
Right. All right. So I was talking about analyzing the mocks, right?
Right.
So what I used to do was sit and break the mock into section-wise points. And the most important thing is to realize whatever questions or whichever questions you did wrong, were they really necessary to have been attempted? Because some questions are meant to be left. This is the this is the 50 questions. You cannot. You need to give yourself permission to not attempt those questions because you'll lose more than you gain. That is something very important to understand. Then I used to make a lot of silly mistakes that I used to like write in a separate column that these many questions, these were silly mistakes. These were concept-based problems. These were like misinterpretation of the question. These were questions that I should not have attempted. So this is how I did and analyzed my mock and tried to better myself for the next one.
That's really amazing that how much you put in the efforts, not only while giving the exam, but also analyzing them. I believe that without analyzing mocks, it's just a 50% preparation. So, I just have a random question in my mind. Given that 2 months are left now, and you have given CLAT along with boards, and also giving 1 year's complete preparation, if you were at a place right now wherein you are having 2 months in both the stages, what would be your strategy?
Right. So when you have your board exams, so what happened with me was my boards were done, and then the paper was like postponed thrice. So I had a time gap for me to prepare. Those 2 months before exams, before the CLAT exam, my boards were done, my result was done, everything was done. So I was completely, focused. But that may not be case for this year. So boards is something that is also very important, equally important. There is no comparison between CLAT and your board exam. Many people say that boards are just for number's sake. What is more important is board, but CLAT. So I think both are very important because you'll have your score, your 12th score. Time to CLAT is like a habit, should be a habit. While you are preparing for your boards, find time, for example, comes at least 5 to 6 hours for CLAT also, because you need to give mocks. Without mocks, there's no exam. Don't give an exam if you're not giving enough mocks, because you won't be able to score well. So you need at least 5 to 6 hours on a daily basis, plus your preparation for your boards. That is how you should be managing both. It is very difficult, I understand, but it's the only way. Don't compromise on either of them. Don't. For people who are giving the CAT exam again during a year, you have plenty of time. No responsibility to something. At least 7 to 8 when I had to give. Am I not audible?
You're audible now. Actually, your internet connection, I guess, just went away, but now you're perfectly audible.
Okay, okay. I'll just repeat what I was saying. For people who are giving like had a drop last year and giving CLAT exam again this year, you have your like plenty of time. 2 months is a big, big, big amount of time. You still have like nothing. There's nothing lost. People crack CLAT in what even with a month's preparation. That is not something difficult to do. You just need discipline, because for droppers, procrastination is an evil, the biggest evil you'll face. And even for board takers, you like find difficult to give time to both of them. The balance should be there, because you cannot compromise on either of them. Don't compromise on either of them, because both are your exams. So don't do that. That is my advice, I guess.
Okay, so if you don't mind me asking, what was your rank in CLAT 2021, which landed you to secure a seat in NLU Patiala?
Right. I had a rank of 1003.
That's amazing. So I guess the valuable tips or the takeaways from this session are that give your mocks on time and analyze your mocks and your strengths and weaknesses to zoom up your preparation and within an year and as you just told that in just a few days of preparation also you can manage a good score. So what are some last minute tips, or if you could sum up your bullet points that shouldn't be avoided in order to get a brilliant rank? So, is there some piece of advice that you would like to give to our viewers before we close the session?
Yeah. So just keep in mind that it's just an exam. Okay, this is not your life ending or your career ending. This is just an exam. This is what I felt when I gave 2020. My parents and everybody was like, "What happened? What happened?" that is something completely like not worth doing. Don't do this to yourself. I know last minute I'm a person who gets like serious anxiety for exams, and I'm sure a lot of you must have that. So just take a deep breath and concentrate on what you do best, your strong subjects. So the last 2 weeks, just focus on what your strengths are. Okay. So everything will be perfect. There's nothing to worry about. And just work on your weak subjects, as I already said. Make them so it is not possible to like do maths like in a year even, because you've been studying maths for so long, and then you're still weak at it. It's not possible for you to get proficient in maths in just a year. That is very difficult. So I would say that in just focus on your strengths, whatever you do best, just practice on that, strengthen those topics, and you'll crack it like amazingly. You'll get an amazing score. Just believe in yourself. That is something you need to take away from each and every day, because preparation is something, there'll be like discrepancies for will be different for each and every individual. And the most important thing is to believe in yourself. Whatever your preparation strategy is, even if you are preparing for just a month or a year or 2 years or a week, anything, whatever your preparation time is, whatever your preparation stage is, wherever you are right now, whatever score you're getting, 50, 60, 110, 90, any score is good enough. You just need to get it better. Okay, nothing is bad in because you'll never know what you I've seen my batchmates, I've seen my preparation partners getting 16 mocks in the very end and scoring whooping like 100 scores in, and you'll do great.
Right. So that's an amazing piece of advice to all the budding lawyers, to all the budding guardians of law out there. And I'm sure that this session would have helped you a lot in knowing how to proceed with the CLAT exam and how to secure a seat in your favorite law schools. The basic piece of advice is stay confident, as Kathy just told, keep giving mocks and all of these things, and keep following Project Maverick for such exciting videos and knowledgeable content. I would like to thank Kathy for joining us today and to all the viewers. And in case there are any queries, you guys can write to us on Project Maverick. All the details are available on the Law Seekers website, as well as on our Instagram portal and in the description as well. Thanks a lot, Kathy, and thanks a lot everyone for attending. Thank you and have a nice day.
Thank you so much for having me.